What am I doing here? Why do I want to do what I want to do? It ain't the religion I know, boy.
No, bad. Don't make me get a switch.
Are we going?
Yes.
Hey.
Hey, we're live.
Hey, we're live. Welcome to Backsliders.
Episode.
Who knows?
Who knows? It's
I don't
a new
know
one.
what order we're putting.
Thanks for joining us again, guys. We're here with
Mark Pryor.
Howdy.
I
Appreciate
said that.
Howdy. Thanks
your
for
name?
having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Another new
It's
friend.
an honor. Yeah.
It's an honor.
Yeah. New friend. Very new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We met you at a screening like a month ago.
Talked for
Maybe
about
less.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
And now we're here.
Yeah.
We love having people we barely know on
We
here.
Oh,
we
it's-
screened an episode of the scenes, also titled Backsliders,
Yeah.
and then
And I was a big fan.
Oh, we did. I didn't know you were a big fan. I
Yeah.
thought you just could relate.
I just thought I wanted to get on your podcast. Just like hearing myself talk. So
You can relate because you're from the South,
I'm from Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah. I'll put on a little bit more of a southern accent.
Yeah,
that way
just
people
for-
believe you.
right, exactly.
Some people don't disagree.
Yeah. I'm from the South, from Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, very cool. That's
Which
like
is,
a town that I've heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the capital?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I remember.
City-wise, like how big is it?
Like 250, but then the area is like over 1 million.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
It's a good city.
It's rapidly growing.
So born and raised in Richmond?
Born in North Carolina, in
Okay.
Fayetteville,
Okay.
Oh.
and I was raised on summer camps, Christian summer camps.
Okay.
Wow.
My dad was a camp director. Yeah. So that was my weird religion growing up.
So he was a camp director because of religion, or he was a camp director and it was usually used by religious people?
It was they were camps that were owned by the Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
So
they own the property.
They own the property, and we lived on the premises
That's so
Oh,
fun.
So-
wow.
yeah.
How many years did you live there?
until 4 years when I was born at the one in North Carolina, and then up until I left home.
Oh, wow. So
It was
many
years.
years.
I'm
Weird.
34 like yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday
no.
was your actual birthday?
No, I mean, that's when I left home.
Oh,
finally.
okay.
No, like 21 or something.
Wow. Yeah.
I've never
So-
thought about like a career in being a church
It's pretty
camp.
cool.
Yeah. I
Like
bet it
leader.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because...
You're going to go back and be one?
No. Although I think it'd be great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a pretty cool way to live your life. You're always outside, and if you think about religion right, it's like a pretty cool way to do religion.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
It's the best part of religion, if I remember correctly.
yeah. Did you go to
I went to
camp?
some summer camps.
Yeah.
They weren't summer camps that like the church that I grew up in put on. It was always friends' church summer camps. I would
Right.
go with them.
Yeah.
Because your church was too small. to have
Pretty,
a camp.
yeah, sure. We had hot Bible summer camp one year.
Hot?
Yeah, that's just what we called it. Hot.
Because it was a hot summer or because...
Yeah, it was Texas, and my mom came up with the name.
Sounds a little
Hot,
too
hot.
close to hell.
Yeah.
Man.
What a weird
Does.
name.
Yeah. Hot. Hot wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double hot. So at your church camp, were you like treated special because you were like the son
Oh,
of
yeah.
like, you were like famous?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
It's been a tough transition to,
Yeah,
to real life.
definitely.
Yeah. What do you mean nobody knows me?
But my dad,
All I had to do
camps.
was sit there. People, that's him.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I've got 2 siblings, both older.
Okay.
And yeah, I just hung out all summer. So I was also homeschooled.
Yeah.
Um,
I was homeschooled until 8th grade.
okay.
Yeah.
I was homeschooled
The whole time.
until 9th grade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Did you choose to stop?
My parents got separated.
Okay.
And then my mom was like, I can't take this anymore. Also, she was probably not really understanding what she was teaching me at that point. So I
Gotcha.
feel like there's like a natural progression. A lot of homeschoolers end up in some kind of
Sure.
private school or public school if
Yeah.
their parents are like, I don't know algebra anymore.
Right.
Algebra's tough.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is tough.
So did you choose to go to regular school?
I chose pretty much just because of the social aspect
Yep.
and sports.
Yeah.
So
I begged to
yeah.
go to school to play football, and then I
Weird.
was no good. So
Where are you guys from?
Texas.
Okay. Well, yeah, you got to go play football.
Yeah, I had to. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or at least try.
I definitely
who
tried. I was
were
good
you
in
if you
Pee Wee,
weren't?
like, like the rec league when you're a
Right.
kid, and it's okay
Yeah.
to, be a kid
That usually
when you're
translates.
a kid. But I
for
didn't
sure.
grow into like a man body like the other kids. In ninth
tough.
grade, I quit.
Genetics.
But you
suck.
still had to go to all the football games because you were a cheerleader.
That was a choice, okay? I didn't have to go to those. It
I love telling people he was a cheerleader. It's just fun.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes once you get older, it makes sense. You're just like, yeah, I just got to hang out with all the hot chicks.
Yeah.
And do flips.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. That's the only reason I did it. I didn't try out for the team. There was like tryouts. It was like the second year of tryouts when I was like
They asked you to be on it.
yeah. Because I had friends that knew I could like flip and stuff. And they were like, come on, one of the guys quit. Will you just do it? Just go in there and flip for the coach. And she was like, you're on. And I
Wow,
was.
that's great.
Good job.
Yeah. I had a coach. The cheerleading coach was Miss Tunstall, and I was also in powerlifting. So I did like the other things too. Okay.
Yeah, you're still.
Which
Yeah.
you're in
Nice.
your weight class. So I was in like 114s, 132s, and then 148s.
Okay.
And that was Coach
even know what that
Tunstall as
means,
well.
but-
So I had a husband wife coaches for both the sports I did.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Cool,
And
Micah.
weird.
I know. Just saying, I couldn't get away from married couples teaching me things.
I get it.
Why were you homeschooled initially?
I would say that my parents were afraid of the public school systems and couldn't afford a private school education.
Gotcha.
Why were you homeschooled?
Because we always lived out in the middle of nowhere on camps.
Yeah.
That when my brother started going to school, he went to first grade, and his bus commute was 3 hours every day.
What? Oh my
And my mom was like, "There's no way in hell I'm putting my 6-year-old on a bus for 3 hours every day."
Both ways.
No, total, but still.
That's
Still, an hour and a
3
half is a
hours.
lot.
That's insane.
And so, yeah, she just did it one year and really liked it, and
yeah.
never really thought
I
about
guess
it
I don't
again.
think about it because like I lived like 20 miles from my school. I never drove the bus, but I imagine that bus trip was quite a journey because there's a lot of you got to stop and go at every
And you know
house.
what? They never do it right. Those routes are bullshit.
Yeah, I've
Because
Yeah.
they drop the first person on gets dropped off first too. They don't flip the route.
Yeah,
So
they
I was
should.
I was the first person on, last person off on my bus. So I also had, when I was going to high school, I had like an hour and a half each way.
That's super weird.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and a kid on my bus had a 20-minute ride.
What an
Both
asshole.
ways.
Such privilege.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, like, what did your parents believe? Like, were they like fire and brimstone?
Put
Like,
it in
No.
were
three
they like
sentences.
No, my-
loving?
I come from what I think of as like for the most part, Christianity done right.
I love
Um,
that.
Like very much focusing on Jesus's teachings versus anything else, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
'cause-
like the camp was an overnight camp, and it was a small group kind of ministry. So
Yeah.
you have a co-ed group of like 12 kids, and two co-ed counselor team, and kids are staying there anywhere from like 3 nights to a month.
Yeah.
And it's, my dad was not a proselytizer at all, which is where I get really up in arms over Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were already there.
Among other things, but
They were already there. You know what I mean?
who? What?
Like the campers were already there, so they didn't have to proselytize to some degree. It was like,
Sure, but they weren't. It wasn't like
I got to keep you here.
Demand. You couldn't. Yeah, exactly. You didn't like demand Bible study or something. That was
Right.
a group decision if you want to do Bible study.
Sure.
So it's really just like there was like a morning devotions and an evening vespers. Just really short little like sing some songs and maybe do a skit. And other than that, it was just kind of like any other summer camp.
A lot of canoeing.
A lot of canoeing, A lot of
water
canoeing,
sports.
some
Kissing in the woods.
Kissing in the woods.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do they have like the thing that you bounce on and then you get in the water?
Oh, the blob.
Yeah, the blob.
No.
How could I
no.
forget
I
that
always
name?
wanted.
Those
my
are
dad
for-
was
those are
kind
for
of
movies,
wasn't
okay?
a big
No, there
fun
was one
guy.
at my church camp. No
Never.
fun.
He's fun. He's
Yeah.
where I get my like writing sensibilities. He's a great writer and he's funny in a much different way than me. But he's very like his dad was in the FBI.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
He's very different than his dad. His
Yeah.
dad was kind of a horrible person in
Okay.
some ways. And my dad went like the exact opposite direction, but he's still very like stoic and doesn't talk about his feelings much and
Yeah.
kind of thinks I am insane
I think
for sure.
Thinks
so
you're
many
insane
of
for,
that
like-
generation.
No,
too.
I don't think he understands at all where I came from.
Really?
And maybe my mom either.
because you're like a creative
Yeah, I'm just a little
performer
out there.
dude.
Yeah, a little bit, at least compared to my family.
Were they afraid of you moving out here?
No, they've been super supportive everything I've done. I mean, I'm 34 and still
Yeah.
haven't really done anything. So
Oh, please.
You're here.
You make lots of things.
I
You
made
live
it on
here.
this podcast.
You're in a kitchen
which-
podcast. Come on.
You've made it.
This is what I had in mind when I moved out here for sure.
I'm 35 and I'm doing a kitchen podcast. So I think as long as you have one of these by next year.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll at
You'll
least
be
be
fine.
on the level, which
Yeah.
is good.
I think we're par for the course, right?
Yeah. No, it's
I think we're just looking at those millionaires at our age and we're like, hey.
Right. No, I've had
Hey,
a way more
you.
interesting life than they have, though. They just started working.
Yeah, I mean the struggle,
I
That's
just
what
started
it's about.
working.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Like they started working a long time ago. I just started working on what
Yeah.
I actually want to do.
Yeah, so you have
nice.
some time.
Yeah.
What have you been doing the last 12 years?
12 years.
Did you go to college?
I did all sorts of things. Yeah. Oh, that's another fun little tidbit.
Yeah.
Is I went to a Mennonite college.
Okay.
But you're
despite
not
being
Mennonite.
Mennonite,
Yeah.
which was an odd decision.
But they had no problem. They're like, come in. We
No,
don't care if
they
you're
want,
Mennonite.
They want your money.
I don't
just
really
as
know
much
what
as-
Mennonites believe.
Me neither.
Mennonites are Anabaptist, so they don't
Anabaptist?
do the baptism at birth.
Okay.
You decide to,
Okay.
which is cool. I
Yeah.
respect that. And then they are pacifists, which is also double cool in
Yeah.
my book. They can't be the worst because they don't try and kill people.
That's
So-
true.
So
I
they would
think-
never go to war.
No, there's pretty much all conscientious objectors.
So they're libertarians.
I don't think.
They're a super weird mix. They are kind of like half socially conservative, but very politically liberal. Yeah, they're very like religiously conservative, but then they can't hurt anybody,
Right.
Do they?
so
do
they can't enforce any of their
Yeah.
hard line,
that's a
which
good-
is a weird.
It's a good way to live, though.
But it's kind of. I ran into a lot of, you weren't supposed to, you signed like a lifestyle pledge where you weren't supposed to, have sex or drink or smoke or, anything. And everybody signed it like, okay,
Yeah.
I've
I know
never
what
been more
contracts
drunk
are.
than
Yeah.
with a bunch of Mennonites, like first getting to drink, because I wasn't sheltered really at all. But
What made you choose this college?
it was my third college, and by that point, the only thing I'd figured out is that I still wanted to play soccer. I used to be a really big, serious soccer player, but it had been like a couple years since I played, so I knew I just had to go to a small school that I could just walk on. And I randomly knew, so I actually did go to a Mennonite church for like 2 years. My mom met a bunch of Mennonites and really liked how they did their worship. So
Yeah.
'cause my mom's not nearly as religious as my dad. She's much more kind of just spiritual and likes being around people that have good vibes kind of thing.
Sure.
So we started going to a Mennonite school. So I met our church and I met a couple there, and including one of my best friends from homeschooling.
Oh, quite cool.
So he was there. So I already knew a couple people. It was, 3 hours from home. So it was kind of a nice distance of,
Yeah. Close, but not too close.
yeah. I just randomly went to a Mennonite school.
For how long?
2.5 years.
And you played soccer.
Played soccer. Yeah.
Were you guys good?
We were good my senior year, but not great.
Yeah.
So I was injured like the entire 3 years.
Oh.
I had a sports hernia, which is a weird injury that no one really knows what it is. I mean,
Yeah, now you have to tell us what it
well,
is.
it's like no doctors never diagnose it right. And so I didn't it's a 15-minute procedure.
No.
And
It took you up for 3 years.
And it took me out, because they just didn't know what it was.
No.
And they figured out my senior year. I was like, God damn it.
Jeez, yeah.
So anyway,
But Mennonite school.
and soccer is kind of like a religion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're just linking up stuff here. in
Yeah, religion.
large parts
People
of the
are
world. Yeah.
really committed
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
So then after Mennonite school.
After Mennonite school, moved to Philly. I was an American Studies major there, and I moved to Philly. Worked at a really dumb, like for-profit American History Museum, which for-profit museums are just always a bad news. So it's very overly patriotic.
Oh, interesting.
Very surface level. Like everything we did was always great.
Yeah, that
And-
narrative.
Yeah, like no one that even worked there was a history major. I was the only one, so I was just sitting there just very angry at everything we were teaching
Right.
people.
This is a propaganda building.
Yeah, oh, totally, 100%.
And you guys had to like teach these things.
Yeah,
to
I was
people
a
who would come
guide.
visit. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And so I'd always try and throw in my little subversive, like, but we also did this, and that was dumb and stupid and horrible.
Did you get like
So-
bad reviews? Did people
I
catch
didn't. I
on?
wasn't good at my job because I hated it. It was like the
Yeah.
one job I've ever been like really bad at.
I guess that's
'Cause we-
kind of like being a pastor who like doesn't agree with what they're preaching
Sure.
because you're still having to preach to these people.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like,
totally.
our preacher doesn't have any passion. It's because I don't believe it.
Yeah. It's like every predominantly white Christian thing, I feel like. Everyone's just like, whatever.
I feel like if I don't
So
say
boring.
this, we're all going to die.
Wow, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, so then I hated Philly, and then I went on some trips, moved home, back to Richmond, and just did like 10 different kinds of jobs, just kind of trying everything out.
Sure.
Law firm, manual labor,
Wow.
What brought you to LA?
engineering, writing. So I started writing like 6 years ago on a animated series that I'm trying to develop about landscapers set in the American South.
I like that.
Which is what I did and I've written it with a bunch of guys I used to work landscaping with.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I'd hop around a lot. I was going to get very bored very easily.
Sure.
And so this was the first thing I'd ever worked for more than like 2 months on. And I've been working on it for like 6 years now. So,
Yeah.
Which is way too long.
Hey,
not
it
get
takes a
paid
lot of
for.
time to build something like that, like a whole show.
Yeah. And it was the first thing. So it's my baby and it was my grad school
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
writing a show essentially.
Hell yeah.
So
How many episodes did you write?
I've got like 3 done and 4 or 5 others in some form of completion, but
Sure.
just the content level is just really dumb. Like we had 70 writing meetings
That's a lot of meetings.
and recorded all of them, so I haven't forgotten any of the things we came up with.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's
Yeah.
like 500 pages of content
Wow.
Yeah.
of just the ideas.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
That's
too much.
smart though to save them all so you don't.
Yeah,
lose them,
it's
'cause
fun.
You never know.
Yeah.
Does it have a title?
Labor Days is the working title,
I like
but
that.
we'll see.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like a Southern animated show.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Southern things anymore, which on the one hand is good, but on the other hand, everyone's so in their bubble now.
Yeah.
They don't. So now they just automatically think Southern, like, oh, pieces of shit,
Yeah.
dumb people.
Yeah.
You know.
Is
And,
King of the Hill still on air?
Yeah. I mean,
It is?
it's. Oh no, it's not still being made.
No. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Is F is for family? What's that one?
I don't know if
Netflix
that's
one?
still
Is
going.
that
Is
F
it?
is for him? Netflix.
Where's that one set? It feels like the South, but I'm not sure. This might just be
I think
Middle
it's
America.
not. I think it's a little bit northern because it's Bill Burr, so that's
doesn't
he's
make sense.
like
Yeah.
Boston
Maybe
guy.
like Pennsylvania or something.
Yeah, like Jersey or something.
Still suburban.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. Best of luck with
Thank
that
you.
project.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's
Has your upbringing influenced your work at all?
yeah. I mean, I went to school. My high school I'm right in the middle of Civil War country.
Yeah.
So my high school and Civil War country that doesn't want to not be Civil War country.
Right.
They're real stuck in there. And then we were just like this little summer camp that in general was kind of like a liberal little, like I lived in a little weird liberal bubble, and then everywhere around me was very conservative.
Huh.
So my high school the mascot is literally the Confederates.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Lee Davis Confederates.
Our
Lee-
mascot was the Indians, still the Indians. And I
Sure.
was the
Yeah.
mascot. I
Right.
feel weird about that. What are you going to do? What's so weird to be like brought up into it, and then you're like, oh no, this is totally normal. And then you grow up and you're like, that was some racist shit that I
Yeah,
was partaking in
totally.
without question.
Yeah. Up until like 3 years before I went to Lee Davis, their mascot was a Confederate soldier that would just come out on the field at like halftime and look with a musket. And
Shoot something.
Yeah.
You're dead.
shoot a northerner that they brought in.
What a
Yeah.
great, it's so funny
Yeah.
and fucked.
Yeah, they got a bunch of bad press for it. So they changed the mascot to just a bulldog, but they didn't change the name. So now we're just it's like this really weird. They're still the Confederates, but the
It's
mascot's
bulldog,
a bulldog.
so it's fine. It's
Yeah,
a dog.
Confederate bulldog.
Or something. I don't know. It doesn't.
makes sense.
They never really explained it to a satisfying degree of why that made any sense.
We just got rid of the gun, okay?
Yeah.
It's better now.
But yeah, I mean, all of it really, living in that kind of thing and being in a lot of ways the outsider.
Sure.
And so just kind of observing and not having grown up like all these people I'm going to school with, but because every summer I had 1,000 people that would show up in a lot of cases from different parts of the world.
Right.
We'd always have international people that would
Wow.
come and be counselors, and so I was every summer I was just exposed to a lot of different people and older people. I was because I was the camp director's son, I would like hang out with the staff a lot. So
Yeah.
I would be talking to not my peers
Yeah.
a lot. And, so it was just this very different, from all my neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of. So I was always kind of looking at other people, acting, being like, what do you do? This is interesting. And
Yeah.
just kind of observing versus always being in it.
Yeah.
So were there a lot of other, I'm assuming so, because it's the South, a lot of other different types of churches in your area?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of Baptist, Episcopal, probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you notice like how what you were being taught by your dad was like different from maybe like what your peers were being taught in these other places? Or was it more similar?
Yeah.
I never really paid much attention when we would go to church, because we wouldn't go to church during the summer because church was at the house
All day.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, which was great. And so going to when we during the year when we'd go to church, it always like paled in comparison for me.
Yeah.
It's like, why aren't we under trees? First off,
That's, yeah.
Exactly.
Why aren't we mostly just singing songs that are like not necessarily boring hymns, and maybe just some of them are fun, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
this is dumb,
Yeah.
this is so boring, and I don't
Yeah.
care.
Why
I
aren't
never,
we enjoying each other's company right now?
I really never cared. I don't remember ever caring. I just believed it for a long time.
Sure.
I was just like, yeah, okay, that
Yeah.
did it, but it never had any kind of emotional. I really never had a whole lot of emotional attachment to that belief.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably a big part because of my mom. My mom was just kind of like, well, if it's,
Take what's good.
yeah.
And spit out what's not.
And like I was really into guns when I was young,
Yeah.
and really into the Army. And my best friend was very similar. And we would go to church when he would stay over. His family didn't go to church. When they'd stay over, we would go to church the next day, and we would wear all camo. because we were like,
And back then it didn't
we were,
scare
army-
people.
Well, my mom was just like, I still can't believe my mom like allowed us to do that. She was never happy about it, but she was just like,
Just
all
gotta
right.
say
Oh
God
my
bless
God.
America
Just
when
this,
you
like,
walk in, you know?
Because it wasn't like we were dressed like to go hunting.
Right.
We
Yeah.
were in like army
Fatigues.
We probably
Yeah.
had like our medals that we had given each other, you know?
Uh-huh.
So cool. You guys are so cool.
Yeah.
Were you a Boy Scout?
No,
Huh.
again, because I kind of did.
You didn't need it.
Yeah, like my dad was my scout leader, kind
Yeah.
of.
You were an eagle. You didn't need the badge.
Right, exactly. That's actually a kind of funny story. My dad built campfires. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of, he just did that so many times. He's so good at it.
Yeah.
And then I was figured, well, I've built tons of campfires. I'm my dad's son. I can do this. And I was a junior counselor one time, and our junior staff member, and one of the tasks you have to do is build the campfire at the end of the session, and my whole group was just like, just you do it, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
I know how,
I'll
yeah.
build this.
I got this.
Incredible fire. And so I built it, and just this beautiful looking fire, and then 200 people file in, and it's dark. My dad comes down. He always comes down, and then after everyone like quiets down, then my dad
He ascends?
My dad descends down into like
descends, right.
the bowl of like where we have this campfire circle, and everybody gets quiet, and my dad strikes one match, goes out, strikes another match, goes out, strikes the third match, doesn't light. Just knocks the whole fire down and rebuilds it, and all my friends were like, "Hey, great fire, Mark! Like, don't you live here?" And it was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life.
What did you do wrong?
I still don't know. Not
enough kindling, huh?
Kindling,
Kindling, yeah. Not enough kindling.
probably something happened. I
Your
don't know.
parents sound so cool.
They're great. They're
Yeah.
great. They've always, like I said, they're very supportive. But
And they were just like, did they ever like debate their beliefs in front of you guys, or it was always just kind of like,
not
he's
really.
this
Like
way, I'm that way.
I
who
think
cares?
my dad was always very, not only with like the not really proselytizing, but was very just kind of lead by example. Like you're living in Christian community. It was kind of like Christ-like Christian community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very, very accepting. Not everybody that went there were Christian, but
Yeah.
that didn't matter. That was fine. But a lot of the people that worked there kind of pissed me off,
Right.
Because they would be like, "Oh, you're not worshiping right."
A little too zealous.
Right, like there's a right way
What the
to
fuck does
worship.
that mean?
That is not a
Can't-
thing.
Yeah, you have to hold your hands up.
And close
No,
your
they
eyes.
you sing?
didn't.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I've gone to
I
this
heard that
camp
one
my whole
before.
life.
Yeah, and then
Funny.
you have the more intense ones where they're like, indigenous people in Papua New Guinea that have never seen a white person. They're going to hell because they don't know Jesus.
Oh, they would claim that.
Oh yeah.
At least my parents would say like, "Oh, God will reveal Himself in nature," or
Jesus.
or they will have their chance to hear Jesus's story. They'll hear it out at some point, maybe at the gates.
So these
Yeah.
people are like, they're just going to hell. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're savages going to hell.
Right.
That's
yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. And I was just always like,
How do you sleep?
How do you,
it's
how
like-
do you, how do you
and I was just
rationalize
like,
that?
how do you?
That could be you. You could have been
that was
born there.
well, that was always my argument. I was like, well, take the person that's just never had access to
Right.
the Word of God.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah, and they're like, well, maybe it's just that simple, and that's why you need missionaries. I was like, you are simplifying. You're simple.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
like your fucking mind is simple.
Yeah.
And because you're implying that an entire huge swath of people are going to hell, and your explanation is just, oh, it's simple.
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe you think about it a little bit more
Yeah.
and get back to me with that, because that sounds like bullshit.
But
Yeah.
maybe they can't think about it more. Like, I think that
Yeah,
might be the case
sure.
for some, like
Would
for them
put-
to
it would poke
reevaluate
holes.
that,
Right.
it would
It'll-
make their whole belief system
Totally.
crumble, and they'd rather
Yeah.
believe that a bunch of innocent people are going to hell
Yeah.
than reevaluate what
That
they were
everybody's
taught.
salvation was maybe as easy as theirs was. Like, I was
Yeah.
born in a
Right.
Christian household.
Exactly.
And it
yeah,
was
you got
simple.
spoon fed
Yeah.
everything, and then you're just like, well, I could just live like this the rest of my life.
Right.
That would be simple.
Yeah.
So would you get in debates with these people?
That one dude that I was thinking about this
What's
earlier
his name?
today.
What's his first name?
I was literally writing it. I cannot remember. I've known this guy for a very long time.
Chad?
It's not
Derek?
Chad. No, keep going.
Okay, Josh. I don't think we're going to
It's
get it.
not Ed. No,
Chad.
I don't know. I don't know what his first name
No,
is.
it's okay.
You would debate with him.
Yeah, I just have a very specific memory of this argument, which is why I'm saying this right now.
Oh, okay, the helping.
Of him being like, well, it's just that simple. I was just like, you're ridiculous.
Did you go to your dad and say, like,
And I
hey,
cried. I
can
was
this
like,
guy
fire
get
him.
sent home? Oh,
Yeah.
he worked there.
Oh yeah, he worked there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, fire him.
yeah. And I think that's what I always found is the people that were most religiously fervent were the worst with kids too. Like they weren't the ones that kids enjoyed being around, and they weren't ones that kids felt supported by and like understood by.
Yeah.
And I think
So
that's what
very
my dad.
Christ-like.
What? Yeah,
Very
exactly.
Christ-like.
Exactly. I think that's what my dad was really good at. Is he did value like being good with kids over like how religious you were.
Right.
Which is cool, but every once in a while one would slip in, you know.
Yeah.
One would trick them.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Get in there and then
Pass
just
the
be like
interview.
horrible.
All
and tell
smiles
kids,
in the
tell kids
interview.
horrible things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
People are weird.
people are very strange.
Have you found that Christian community here, or are you on a different?
I've been
charted
very
path right
surprised. Oh no, I'm since I was probably 12. I haven't considered myself religious in any real way.
12.
Yeah.
Did you
Okay.
tell your dad when you were 12?
Because they never really pushed it necessarily, and it was just kind of the age where they stopped arguing with me when I didn't want to go to church. You know, they were just
Okay.
like, all right, you can stay. You know,
Okay.
and it was just, and that was it. Like there was never a moment or a blow up or anything that
Yeah.
Right.
that
They just
precipitated it. But
Let you be.
So mom wasn't clearly not worried. Dad still not worried.
disappointed. My dad's disappointed a lot. Yeah, Dad doesn't cry.
I'm not mad at you.
Yeah,
I'm
he doesn't
just
cry.
Extremely disappointed. I won't see you seated in the heavenlies.
He doesn't yell. He'll just like cry like one tear, and then just like, oh,
very
boy.
That hurts
effective.
Oh
worse.
man, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Truly.
Was this a recent tear?
There's been no recent tears,
Yeah.
which is good, but
Yeah.
there were a number over the years.
That's cool that they just let you like be yourself. You didn't
Yeah,
feel like
totally.
shamed or
Yeah, no, for sure. It's very supportive.
did your siblings choose like a similar path, or are they like
They're-
more devout?
I think my brother. I don't talk about it much, and my
Really?
sister, not. I don't think they go to church at all.
Yeah.
My brother maybe goes to church. My brother's probably the most religious of the three of us. He's the oldest. But, you know, he's a
Yeah.
songwriter, and it comes out a lot in his songs.
Yeah.
And it always kind of takes me by surprise. I was like, oh. Like that, you're still doing that, huh? But
Do you consider yourself spiritual, or just not religious, or
a
just
little
like
bit. I just like being nice to people and,
Sure.
and
Yeah,
have
yeah.
other people being nice to me. And,
Yeah.
And not caring more about people than governments or
sure?
companies, and that's kind of my religion.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think. The
Organizations.
government organizational structures are what's is like the anti everything.
Anti-human. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dominance, power.
Yeah.
Control.
Yeah. But the hard part for me is figuring out like how involved I am in the structures that are surrounding us, which is really hard to do in LA.
Yeah.
And kind of daily, I'm just like, what am I doing here? Like, why
Hey.
do I want to do what I want to do? You know,
Right. Yes.
Same.
like
yes.
Same.
I could be helping in a lot of different ways. And,
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, but telling stories and stuff like that is always a way
It's medicine.
to is a religion to me, you know.
Yeah.
Help heal.
I mean,
For sure. Yeah.
religions
Expose
are based
things
on
and-
stories.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we've been telling stories forever, and we see a lot of people doing it for not so good. So if you're doing it for good,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. But I just try and make fun of stupid things. That's my
Yeah.
main.
Yeah.
I
we
like
do
to
too.
I like to try and lay things out very simply in a way that doesn't necessarily attack, but
that's the fine line.
kind of pokes fun at,
Yeah.
and hopefully that the people that are doing those things are just like, yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of.
Or it's like
realization
so, like under the radar that they're not even aware that you're poking at them.
Sure, that I do. That's fun too.
Like this is for me
Right. Yeah.
to watch you watch it
Right.
and not get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And think it's funny and it's about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so fascinating that people can't see themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
It's usually our blind spot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just the hypocrisy of so much always gets to me.
Sure.
With religion, and no one's ever said that before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a brand new
right.
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
pretty good about
I've
that.
Very
never
original.
noticed that anyone who's religious is hypocritical.
Yeah.
So I'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
I wish that those of us that felt that way were able to create a wave of influence as much as the other side.
Yeah. What are we doing wrong?
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
But what does that look like?
I think it's because
Well, it's not.
because we're not like threatening people's
Yeah, there's
eternal
no
life.
controversy.
right. Yeah. There's a lot less controversy.
Yeah. Maybe we could just start saying, like, if you're a hypocrite, the devil? I don't know. But I
We
don't.
got to create a devil.
Yeah, we have to create a hypocritical.
There's still a devil in our
still,
universe.
we
Devil.
still need fear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
we should probably
in a
add
very
some of that.
unfear way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fearless
Get
way.
people to be
That's probably
fearful
it.
of fear.
There we go. Now we're talking.
How do we do that?
Love and acceptance is just like not controversial, enough. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, duh, we all want that.
Right. Yeah.
Give me a problem, I'll fight about that.
Yeah.
Also, people
Yeah, it's
want to
tough.
separate people. We talk
Yeah.
about this a lot. Like, to identify the other, like, makes people feel better because they're like, oh, I'm not that.
Sure.
The othering of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what so I didn't even think about this, but last fall I went to Greece and did humanitarian work for the refugees coming over.
Oh, sweet.
And that was just an insane
Yeah.
thing
Experience,
for me.
yeah.
Like truly the coolest thing I've ever done. And the main reason why every day here I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
Because I was so sure I wanted to do this, and I was like, I'm going to do that first, and then move to like the most vain place on earth. And it's been a little struggle, but
just like mentally, like,
yeah,
just feel so self-absorbed.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
But I'm
creating
not
a bunch
paying
here.
rent, like,
Right, yeah.
like I know I'm not
Yeah,
that.
I could be not getting paid in Greece, like helping people.
Yes.
Why am I
conundrum.
not getting
Yeah.
paid here?
Yeah.
Sitting in my apartment looking
Yeah.
at a computer screen.
I guess we could go to Skid
Angrily.
Row, do something there.
That's true. Yeah, I know. And that's the weird thing too, is that it was so much easier for me to fly halfway across the world to help people than to help people
Here.
in my backyard.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it's still easier to me. It's still so much easier to think about doing that. Like the logistics of that makes sense. But when I'm here, I'm like, okay, I'm here because I'm trying to do this thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't have time,
Right.
and I have to make money, all this stuff. But
How long were you in Greece?
2 months. Yeah. And
Did you go alone?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I went
Single-handedly,
with an
he solved the problem.
Uh,
That must have been very rewarding.
it was very rewarding. Yeah. Solving the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all done, right?
Yeah, it's done.
Okay.
And that's the thing. There's so much fatigue because there's so much bullshit happening around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just like which ones do you pay attention to, and you can't pay attention to all of them. That's
Yeah, you
true.
can't do it
You
all.
literally can't do it. But then as soon as you start feeling that fatigue, then you're just like, what are you doing? Like I got real angry when everyone was freaking out about. I'd just gotten back or somewhat recently, and everyone was freaking out about Notre Dame burning. I got real mad about that. Got into a couple fights about that.
Yeah, people.
Just that it was
about
just,
a
like,
building.
just trivial.
Yeah, and then they immediately raised like $1 billion or something.
For a historic church.
Yeah, and
Meanwhile, there's like people.
Meanwhile, the organization I'm working with, I raised, before I went there, I raised like $2,000 for them, and and that got them through like 3 months of saving lives.
Wow.
Meanwhile,
it's just like,
yeah.
Meanwhile, some old wood burned.
Yeah.
And
I think
But
there
it was
some
holy
copper in there,
wood.
too.
it was holy wood. That's true. You can't put a price
they
on
say,
that,
right.
Or you can.
Yeah. I think it's
maybe
$1 billion.
it shouldn't be $1 billion.
Yeah, it's $1 billion. You can't recreate it.
Right. And especially that it was a church too.
Yeah.
It's just like, it doesn't matter. God's not in there.
Yeah. Why do you care so much?
So
I mean, the Old Testament, like, they believed that God was in, like, holy places, right?
they believed
like,
God was badass.
like tied ropes
In the Old
around the
Testament, man, he
priest
did
in
what the
case
fuck
he
he
got
wanted.
struck
They killed a
down. They
bunch
could
of
drag
people.
him out. You know what I mean? Like, that's some intense belief. Like, tie a rope around me, I might not come out if I'm
Right.
not clean enough.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yes,
either.
they would tie a rope around the priest, like when he would go into like the temple.
Wait, in the Old Testament, there
Yeah.
were priests?
Well, maybe not priests, like rabbis or whatever. I'm getting my
Teachers?
terminology wrong.
All
I am
right,
sure
sure.
of it.
You
But
seem
if
like
they
an
weren't-
expert.
If they were not like clean enough, like God would, in their mind, strike them dead, and they would need to be drug out because then the other person can't go in and just get them unless they were also clean, and then maybe they touch them.
I
and
think
then
we
they're
should
both
start a
dirty, and then they
podcast
both
where you just
die.
explain the Bible in a very confusing way.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be that much different than in most pulpits in America.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
nobody knows.
Yeah,
Because I am very convincing.
Right. Yeah. Do all like the really weird ones, but preach those
Yeah.
as like what as the exact ones that we
Yeah.
should.
Keep
You better not
talking
come
about.
back in this church without a rope around your waist and a family member on the outside.
And if
it's
you're on your
dangerous.
period,
It's
get
dangerous.
the hell out of here.
Yes.
Unclean.
Yeah, so your life out here is very unreligious, very un-Christian.
Yeah,
So you said you're
what-
not religious, but so then like would you characterize yourself as not Christian? Or is that like this is that like a hard thing to
Yeah, I think I got very I just got very disillusioned with because I also a history student.
Yeah.
And so just like learning about all of this stuff, just these insane things that happen kind of in God's name around the
Right.
world, not just here. But
Yeah. War.
I'm just convinced that more bad has been done than good in religion's name
Yeah.
at this point, and especially now, like specifically in current times. I believe that's true.
I wouldn't have guessed that it's more currently worse. I mean,
Well, it's just more subversive now. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just like this. It's hanging in there.
yeah.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
It's weird how much like people will just like glaze over if people claim Christianity. They're like, "Oh, you're a Christian, then whatever you're saying is totally fine." You know what I mean?
They say it's fine. Oh, sure, but the opposite of that definitely happens too.
Yeah, both.
I've been very surprised at how many people in the industry are Christian.
Right. Yeah, me
I've been
too.
very surprised
Yeah.
by that.
Yeah.
I did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
And people.
What did you
and
expect?
some weird shit, some weird religion.
Satanism.
Yeah. Just nothing. Just kind of like I guess I expected a bunch of people that kind of like me who would just maybe grew up that way, but then
But I still think that the people that grew up that way and maybe have like grown away from it still wouldn't say I'm not a Christian.
Yeah, there's a lot of like fear in saying that you're not. Maybe like being
Because
ostracized.
they're just like holding on
or-
like, well, maybe if it's true, I don't want to just say that, but I don't want to like piss off like my Jewish friend or my Kabbalah friend or my Muslim friend. So I'll just say like, yeah. yeah.
just change the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I guess maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've probably been living in a bubble back in Richmond for a very long time. This very not religious.
Just
like all my friends are
just like
not
agnostic?
at all. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
agnostic or. And so maybe I'm the one in the bubble. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty common for our generation. Like
I
a lot
think
of people,
that's true.
a lot of us
Our
who were
age range.
raised, even with like if our parents raised us within a certain religion, we're more likely to question that than maybe they were
Sure. Yeah. Totally.
for whatever reason. The internet,
Yeah.
the ability to
Yeah.
look shit up
Internet war,
more.
Vietnam War.
Yeah,
you
which
ever
you
think-
can look up.
Do you ever think about a higher power at all in general?
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't much.
Yeah. I remember I stopped praying when I was very young, and I've since wanted to like do it, but not in the traditional sense. Just like
How you gonna do it? We're gonna
just
what's the
you
what's
know,
the-
Do it
it's
right
not
now.
in Jesus
Yeah.
Christ's
Just
name. You
figure
know,
it
it's
out.
just like I just feel like it's a conversation with something that may be just a part of my consciousness.
sure?
Like
yeah, yeah.
your
yeah.
But
higher
it's like
self?
my
Right.
higher self or whatever's talking to my higher self, because
But
we
you
do
still
have
want
those-
to call it prayer.
Well, yeah, I think that maybe it's not a prayer. Maybe it's just conversation. I think prayer is just a conversation.
Sure.
I don't know the definition of prayer.
Good.
We should probably know that here.
Hey Alexa, what's the definition of prayer?
Is that on?
Prayer is usually defined as a devout petition to God or an object of worship. For more, ask me to give you more definitions for prayer.
A petition to God or
Or an-
worship.
Or an object, she said.
Oh.
So depending on your beliefs. But yeah, I guess
Oh,
if you're
right.
talking about
So like
prayer,
an
you're
idol,
talking
yeah.
to an idol or a god. So maybe you don't, maybe it's a different word than prayer.
It's like a reflection or
Reflection.
well, you
Looking
you
outside
can
of ourselves, inside of ourselves.
You can have a conversation in the mirror. So
Yeah.
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could ask myself in the mirror for help.
Yeah, do that. That's probably the one that's going to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
Really,
so
the
If I
only
can
one.
convince him to
yeah,
agree with
right. Yeah, well, yeah, good luck with that. I've been trying to figure out how to do that for a long time.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. Sometimes I miss that because when I believed, there was a comfort in praying, like believing that some powerful,
Sure.
well, God was listening to me and cared. So how do you replace that feeling? I don't know. Like the comfort
that's
that
a
comes with
fear.
it.
Well, I mean, the discomfort of that is fear of not having it, you know.
That's true.
So
I do think that sometimes I feel like prayer in examples that I've seen is kind of like an offloading of responsibility. Like
Or demand.
Sure, yeah.
I want to be healed.
Right.
I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
I'll ask God. I'll put it on Him. Now I
I'm
don't
gonna
have to
stay
worry
on this
about
couch.
it. I can stay on the couch.
Yeah.
I can eat whatever I want to eat. You know, like you know, I don't have to be a part of the healing.
I don't have
Right.
to take
Or
responsibility.
I need a new house. God figured that out for me. I don't need to figure out a new job. I
Yeah.
don't need to get a side hustle. Like I just need to
God got me just
sit back and wait.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus plus nothing. You know,
yeah.
You just heard that.
I've heard
The
it a
other
lot,
day.
but
Okay.
I was reminded.
I heard that recently too. I
It's
don't
a
remember where.
it's a very trendy Christian thing right now. Jesus plus nothing.
Plus what? Nothing.
Nothing.
Just Jesus.
But it's similar to like, you know, just reading the red text. You know, like this just Jesus's religion.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
I when I think about
Oh, that was the family, that thing on Netflix. Did you see that? Like the,
Yes,
the
we saw
Christian-
that.
it was on that. It was on that.
They
that
only
was
cared
his
about what
thing.
Jesus
That
said
was,
too?
That was his
They
thing.
said
Was Jesus plus nothing. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
The big guy.
I
That
knew
was
when
like
he said
his-
it, I recognized
That
it.
was his thing.
Yeah.
This,
Jesus
I don't
plus
think the
nothing.
guy that just said that to us knew that the context of what he was saying.
No, I mean it's not. I don't know. I mean, it's prevalent. That belief, Jesus plus nothing, is prevalent. Like, I don't think he would watch that documentary. Like, we're just talking on this podcast, like they know what we're talking about.
No.
But
It's called The Family.
yeah,
It's
watch
on
The
Netflix.
Family.
It's very interesting.
Listen to a podcast we were on last week
Ong.
called O&G.
Anyway, what were you saying?
Shoot, I don't remember.
That was fascinating. That idea of Christianity was the most bonkers,
Yeah.
dumb, like exclusion.
But it's like prevalent. I feel like
know.
that's
It's
the
just
churches
like,
I was raised in.
It's just like Jesus was a warrior, and he like he would want us to kill all these people
And have complete
and-
control.
Yeah, and only care about power.
Well, you can see it
Where-
happening
how
right
did
now.
you-
You can
Yeah,
see
no,
it very
totally, but it's just like,
manifesting.
oh, absolutely, and that's what's
That's
it's
what's so
insane.
weird and crazy about the Bible is that it can be interpreted all these different ways. Like Jesus was an example of like radical love and acceptance, but these people are also reading that same story and just choosing to like totally
Yeah,
rewrite it.
Yeah, because you can pick from it what you want to justify.
Yeah.
And then put God on it and be like, it's God.
And then people will be like, well, if you're claiming Christianity and they're a Christian, they're like, well, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like I have to be devoted to someone who's Christian.
Right.
Like everyone like accepts Trump's Christianity when he's like
Right.
clearly
Not
not
2 Corinthians.
2 Corinthians.
what's that?
That's how he was referring to 2 Corinthians.
Oh.
He said, in 2 Corinthians.
He
I
also,
assume that means the second book,
I don't know.
second chapter of Corinthians. What are we calling these
He
things?
also said he would never need to ask God for forgiveness. Somebody asked him, like, have you ever
Right.
asked for forgiveness? He was like, I would never need to.
No.
And Christians are like, yeah, great. I'll
Yeah.
vote for you.
You haven't come to a problem
Sounds
with
powerful to
myself.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
I like power.
My mom definitely said something like a couple months ago that really surprised me. It was nothing that was out of the realm of what I expected, but it just was like surprising to hear it again. It was this idea that, if this man is on your team, like if this man is a man of God, then we should be behind him regardless of his flaws. And I was just like,
I mean, that's
and it
some
was in
cult.
reference. So it was in reference to the fact that my parents came out of a cult, and this leader was found out to be like sleeping with all the girls, of course.
abusing
Like,
them.
and then
That's
I found
abuse.
out like he even came on to my mom like twice, and she was just like, yeah, like, but we're not supposed to gossip, and we're not supposed to like her defense.
That's because then everyone's gonna know, and then it's not gonna work anymore.
Like
Yeah.
she was like, I thought because they've left this cult many, many years ago, but she was still like under the thumb of that ideology that like
Right.
he shouldn't have been outed.
Right.
Like he wasn't really
Yeah.
outed until he died.
And all of these women, a lot of them committed suicide because obviously they had nowhere to turn. And it was so strange to see your mom still perpetuating this like cycle of protecting a man just because he claimed to be a man of God.
Because
Like, how
that was
deeply
her.
ingrained
She was
that
like, but
is.
he was doing God's work.
right.
So if they're
So
doing
what
God's
if he
work,
slept
you
with
can
a few of the women
Right.
and made
You
them
know.
so ashamed
Yeah.
and shunned them to the point that they committed suicide?
Right. Ooh.
God bless.
Yeah.
Good thing this is like the only group that's ever happened in.
Right.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
a very
Just an isolated
contained,
incident,
isolated
yeah.
incident. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. And then she was like, "But if we start calling out church leaders, we need to call out politicians and
CEOs.
CEOs and
Sure.
teachers." And we were like,
Yeah.
"We do."
She's like, but that's just being a man. And I was like,
"Wrong, honey."
no, I think that might be you've been convinced that that's just what men are.
Well, I raised my voice and I was like, no, that is being a predator. That is not being
Yeah.
a man. That's being a predatorial man who's like been able to get away with it because he has unchecked power.
Yeah. Because there's no gossip.
Yes.
Because you can't gossip.
Don't
Because
gossip.
that would be a sin.
right.
Right.
Gossiping
Oh, yeah.
A bigger
about-
sin. A bigger
Right.
sin
Big-
than
yeah.
the predatorial
Big sin.
behavior. Because God is with him. Wow. So you've never, because your upbringing was kind of so chill in its representation of
Right.
Christianity, have you never felt that much shame and guilt?
No, not really. I think in some ways like the family aspect.
Not to be
Is-
confused with the documentary.
Like your family?
Not, yeah, my family is maybe what's like dragged me down the most. And this is kind of weird and
Sorry, Mom.
counterintuitive because like I had, my family knows thousands of people or, thousands of people know my family just from
Right.
30 years of
Seeing them every summer.
of camping. And I've always been told, and they only see us then,
Yeah.
they see us in this very kind of idyllic situation.
Right.
And so I've always been told, the Pryors, they're like the best family. They're just like the perfect family.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many times I've heard that.
They're
Yeah.
perfect. Ooh.
And that puts a lot of pressure
Yeah.
on any kind of relationship, in your life, really, or, what that means, like kind of.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the closest thing that I could say to that is.
You couldn't live up to other people's ideal.
Yeah,
of
and like
you.
everybody I know kind of has to,
Right.
and like, or if like I'm like, well, why is this person in my life if they're not this perfect? If they're in my family, why are they here if they're not, perfect?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's not really something that you should be.
Yeah, it doesn't
doing.
feel healthy.
Yeah.
I can relate to that a lot.
So that I think that's like the biggest thing that I've been trying to overcome in terms of that's anything like kind of shame or.
Yeah, how do you feel like that's affected you in your adult life? Because I don't think we know how to process it when we're younger, really.
Right.
It just creates the problem now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of a relationship thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not very good at relationships because that person has to be
So good.
just got to have everything, you know.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And
Damn.
yeah, and then it's like, and even that is like even though I know my family way better than any of those other people that said it,
Yeah.
and I know that it's not perfect.
Yeah.
It's still that wording and that it just kind of got beat into me a little bit.
Every day feels like a failure or a letdown.
In some way, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just like because I don't have like this weird perfect nuclear family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I was like, not sure if I want that. I don't know
Or
if
have I
Is it
seen
even
it?
possible?
Yeah, right. That like I don't.
Or if I saw it, I would probably think something was hiding. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And whether or not I want that at all, that's such like a different. It feels like you can't really do that anymore. Like the world's
Yeah.
going to a place where that might not be possible.
Right.
It's fairly soon of that idea, that perfect family idea, and whether or not that's
You feel like now
responsible.
more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I'm a bit of a pessimist where the world's going.
Okay.
So
Pessimize away.
I'm not 100% sure if I would feel like morally good about having kids.
Right.
Know?
Right, I understand that. I mean,
But then I'm like,
what are you giving
but
them?
the people that are dumb and are fucking everything up,
They're having a lot.
they're
of
having
kids.
a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So do
Right.
I need to counterbalance it?
Right.
But that's a horrible reason.
Right.
Right.
That's not a great reason to have kids.
To
To fight the
To create
to fight the
a
dumb
voter.
progeny. Yeah.
Well,
right.
there are
Yeah,
kids.
exactly.
There are kids we could all adopt one day.
Exactly. We should probably be doing
That
that.
could help.
I forgot what we were talking about. How we
Well,
got
how it's like
there.
how it's affected your adulthood, like how you were raised.
Yeah.
Not feeling.
So,
I think you explained that well.
Yeah.
yeah.
So no, never a feeling of being a backslider. Not too much.
I don't actually really know the definition of a backslider, but I mean, I can
You could ask a
You can surmise.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of like, somebody who was a believer and then fall away from what they knew to be,
Right.
in accord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who like backslid from their training.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sure, I did, but it wasn't like a super life-changing
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
or yeah.
You just said like, I'm not going this Sunday.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, I'm
Yeah.
disappointed, but
I'm
okay.
just going to
Okay.
stay at home and wear my camouflage. No. Yeah.
So at some point you didn't want to join the military because
Yeah, and
moralistically
then
you didn't want to kill somebody.
Right. Yeah. And I'm pretty down with not hurting people
Yeah.
Yeah.
in general. So,
Hence the Mennonite.
hence the weird decision to go to Mennonite school. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
thank
we're
It's
you.
glad
really
to
nice
have
to
you.
know you.
Here as
Nice
well.
to meet
Yeah.
you. Like I can relate to a lot of these feelings of.
Yeah, I want to talk to you more about homeschooling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Because
guys-
I'm
I secluded a
starting
lot.
to think about writing something about.
Yeah.
about,
I did stand up with
some
that
homeschool
topic
stuff.
a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
People
And it
are
does well.
inherently interested in it because it's
Well, they
like
all
so
think that it's going to
abnormal
be. They're always like, oh, You were homeschooled?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you seem
Must
so
be a
normal.
freak.
Yeah.
How are you hiding that?
There's only I feel like every homeschooler is weird in like as a kid, and then as soon as they get to be adult, like because they kind of become adults faster in my experience. And so as soon as
there are
they're
a lot
like
of self-learning.
normal adults, they're like an interesting
Entrepreneur.
yeah, right. Except for me.
Yeah.
That's not true. You make things.
As a writer, you're an entrepreneuring writer.
Sure.
But I
yes.
understand what you're saying. We don't have 4 rental homes and
Right. Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet.
not yet.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we all are. Do you want to tell people how they could find you if they want to watch your funny things that you make?
Yeah, the only thing I really have right now, which should probably change soon, is my Instagram is @BiffManhorn.
Okay.
BiffManhorn.
Nice.
And that's what I put most of my stuff on.
Cool. We'll put it in our info.
Cool.
Thank you for being a guest on
Thank
our
you
couch
for
podcast.
inviting me. Although I think I might have invited myself.
Well, no,
we
no.
invited you to invite yourself.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
the invitation
Nice.
was open, and you were
Nice.
like,
Yeah.
"I'll take you up on it."
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
know
thanks
any
for
other
having me.
people,
It's fun.
send them our way.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks for listening, people. Bye.
Over and out.
No, I'm not saying that it wasn't real. I'm just saying that you made me feel bad. Don't try making me a better deal. I'm done with you and I'm fine with that, and that's that.